Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's live. Um, Before we get going, usual, let's just do a quick comms test. Depending where you're coming from, um, I won't be able to see your name on the comments unless you give StreamYard permission. So, up to you whether you want to give permission or not. Also, somebody just give me a thumbs up just so I know that you can see me okay? Um, okay, so I'm seeing that it's going fine on Facebook. Okay, cool. Let's get going. So, this is not something I'd planned for today. Last week, we done a whole session with Mark Hopkins, who'll join us in a second, talking about working from home and the greater implication of it. And both of us were pleasantly surprised with the amount of questions that generated, and some of the things Mark and I were discussing, how it got people thinking, not just employers thinking, but employees thinking as well. So I'm really happy to say Mark's agreed to come back today at short notice and do a part two. I've got some of those questions that you guys have asked or we didn't get round to. So without further ado, let me bring Mark in and we'll get going.
Hello.
Hey, you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you for having me back.
Can you believe that? They want you back.
Don't know why.
So just for those people that don't know you,
Yeah.
let's just, if you could just quickly introduce yourself. But what I'm also going to say is this session may not make complete sense to people if they didn't watch part one. So I'll just throw that out there. You may want to also watch that one. But Mark, tell everybody who you are.
So I'm Mark Hopkins. I'm a business owner in the UK for a company called Thomas Lee Recruitment, and I specialise in manufacturing and engineering. I've been doing this work from home lark now since the start of my business for 6 years. I've worked within the recruitment industry for 16 years, and I've worked for corporate small businesses, and I've seen this argument unfold for a long time. And what we've come to now in the last 12 months is basically the argument coming to fruition. And I see the pros and cons on a lot of both sides of the argument. So hence why I'm here. I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this, considering I've been doing it for such a long time.
It's also interesting. You and I both have the other perspective on it as well, from the employer's perspective, right? So some of
Yeah,
the challenges that this whole conversation is creating for them.
that's right. Yeah,
So I guess, and these are in no particular order, right? But let's just dive right in.
yeah,
After last week, and I even yesterday, I had a conversation with a business owner who has a team of about 20 people. Um, and the question is, why should I pay my employees? Sort of better put my glasses on, right? Why should I pay my employees' expenses, such as utility bills, furniture, when they are choosing to work from home? And I want to just bring in that conversation from yesterday and just give you a little bit more of context around it. Companies are stuck
yeah,
in leases, right? So
yeah.
whether it's a lease they've got or whether they own their property and there's a mortgage on it, all the rest of it, right? So, and this individual that I was speaking to yesterday around this very topic, she's tied into a massive lease with her landlord, which is, I think, she's got 3 or 4 years left to go on that. So whether that office is being used or not, she has to pay.
Yeah,
Then there is talk about her paying utility bills and expenses. And you and I both know, in the context of it, whether you're just doing 50%, 20% of a gas bill, for argument's sake, the number of employees you have, it adds on. So she's got the cost on that side, which she can do nothing about,
yeah,
and potentially the cost on this side. And the interesting part was employees aren't, and like she said, her team are not prepared to take a pay cut because
Sure.
when she hired them, she took the commute, cost of commuting and things like that into account, and that was reflected in the salary. So
Yes.
she literally, she was saying to me, at what stage do employers just say, what, as a small business,
It's
it's not worth being employed?
I think you've hit the nail on the head in regards to the commute, and the salary's already been adjusted for a full-time commute into the city, however much that costs, and that varies in country to country and city to city. If you're not utilizing that money for the commute, then really the onus and cost, if you're being forced to work from home for various reasons, then you are saving money in that sense. If you're choosing to work from home, I think the agreement with the employer needs to be along the lines of what keeps you doing the job to the best of your ability. And when we start attaching utility bills, this is just my personal opinion, when we start attaching utility bills and ancillary items to that, are you concerned about doing your job correctly, or are you concerned more about trying to make a quick buck out of working from home? Do you see where I'm coming from? So
Yep.
there's two ends of the extreme there. We were talking about this quite some time ago, weren't we? Where how far should you go in supporting your people working from home? And as an employer, I think laptop, phone, and maybe a bit of the broadband, paying for a bit of the broadband, or get a 5G dongle or something, and let them have that plugged into their laptop, and then you have control over the broadband aspect of it as a business. But should you be paying the utility bills? In the UK, I think you can claim up to £26 a month. I'm not too sure what it's like in the US or in Canada. So that argument's already been kind of played out in some countries, whether you should be getting that or
But
not.
to be clear, that's you as an individual claiming that back on your taxes, correct?
Yeah, you've got to
Yeah.
do that self-assessment, or you can speak to your company's accountant and see if they can process that assessment as well for you, and claim it back within your PAYE or within your expenses. You can claim it as an expense to your business as well in some respects. So the maximum amount full time is £26 a month. So that's as much really like British government is giving their people in that
But I
sense.
think, there's, I think what, certainly with the conversations I'm having,
Yeah,
companies are looking at it, and it makes sense, right? You got to make money to spend money. I get all of that, right? But you also got to spend money to make money. I get
yeah,
all of that, right? That makes complete sense. But there's got to be that cutoff line, because
correct.
if I, as a business, so actually take me, when I commute and use the train, that costs me $100 a week, right? Pre-tax, $200 a week. That's $800. Keep the maths really simple. $9,000 a year that I'm not spending, so to speak,
Yeah,
right? And there's people who've got higher costs and commute costs than I have,
yeah,
and the argument is, well, we're still paying you that money and you're not using it. So you make a fair point.
mm,
Should the mindset of employees be, you know what, we're rerouting that money? Now, I get it. If I'm not offering people an office to go for, so let's say my business model was no, 100% work from home,
yeah.
then that again is reflected, because I'm not putting the
Yes.
commute costs into the salary, but I am taking into account,
Yeah.
I don't know, cost of furniture, cost of kitting the room out, right? Making sure they've got a comfortable chair and
Yeah.
things like that.
And you see that across, because I do a lot of work within engineering companies that have sales representatives that are work from home, and you do see in the package given to some of these sales reps a little bit of broadband paid for, their furniture, their desk. They'll ask the question, do you need furniture? And I've seen it also being asked with recruitment businesses as well as other businesses that have been forced to work from home. They've emptied their offices of office chairs and tables and
I've done
monitors,
that.
and yeah, you've done that. You've told me
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
So for the person that asked the question, they said they were in a 4 years lease and they have office furniture, and the place is quite expensive. How much do you give? Well, you give us what you've got. You don't give any more than that, in my humble opinion. I think that there's got to be a line in the sand, and people need to understand, look, I'm not spending $300-400 a month at the moment traveling to work. I can now pour that money into my bills. I've been working from home for 6 years, and I would say my bills have increased probably around about 25%. Heating, electric all day, lighting all day, which compared to travel, that was, I would probably save in 150 quid a month, £150 a month, which is about $200 a month. So I'm making money by
Yeah.
not traveling to an office, by working from home.
Because you also, you make a really fair point. When I'm not only do I have the commute costs, then you're just like, okay, I'm gonna go and grab lunch. I'm gonna, and it's, we all know that costs so much more.
I
So
remember that.
right, so
I mean, $10 a day.
yeah,
Some people would spend coffee in the morning, lunch at, it could be 20.
yeah.
By the time you look at it. So 100 a month, 100 a
Well, the
week,
first
400
thing
a
I
month.
done this morning was come into the office, put my laptop, go back out,
Grab a
go and grab an
Starbucks.
extra large
Yeah,
coffee.
yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah.
first thing I done.
Those are the
I
days.
mean, at home I would have made a coffee.
Yeah,
Right, so
yeah,
there's that
exactly.
cost piece, but there's the other part of this that what I want to talk about that I've been speaking to especially my coaching clients on, and you and I again touched on this last week, and they're looking for a bit more expansion. It's not just a question of the offices, like do you pay the employees, set them up from home, pay their utility bills and all the rest of it. If we're not using these offices, okay, cleaners,
Ooh,
security,
yeah,
facilities people, and restaurants. So if
yes,
I look downtown here, I said every day, like we're a social team, right? So at least once a week, we're in a restaurant, right? And it keeps the downtown economy going. So all of them are shut. They're not making money because they're shut. If we don't find the right balance of office, they're all out of business because
mm,
it's Monday to Friday. They're making their money. And on top of that, what about the housing prices? So if I look at the condos, right? So 18 months ago, you could not get anything less than
yeah,
like really close to the downtown core. You're lucky if you got anything less than $900,000,
yeah,
right? Um, what are people are going to lose tons of money on them as well.
yeah. If you look at New York, it's quite a big thing that's going on over there at the moment, where a lot of the youngsters in the quite hip, trendy areas are leaving, and there's a lot of property available at the moment, which could be detrimental to the value within that city. We're seeing it in London. We're seeing it in London as well. It's called the donut economy, where the centre of the city is lower in cost and price, and the outskirts seems to be better
Well,
off.
that's what's happening here. And it's funny because somebody was looking for a property in our area. This is going back to the summer last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was with them and they saw a property and we were like, oh God. And I called it the dead body property. There was just that
Yeah,
feel for it, right? And it
yeah,
would not sell. Nothing wrong with it, just wouldn't sell. And they wanted $1 million for that. This is September last year.
yeah.
They took it off the market. They put it on the market. It went over 200,000 over the original
Wow.
price that they could not sell it at.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? What a certain area does in cost, an actual true amount of value it gives properties. And you take a couple of people not using Starbucks in the area, and suddenly, I'll go into work. I mean, thousands, not a couple of people, but
Yeah.
it changes the whole perspective of the thing. And the comment on kind of the greater impact of people not working from, sorry, people working from home but not working from the office, and you touched upon it with the related jobs to that. There's an interesting story I heard quite recently on the local radio here, where the husband wanted to work from home more from the business, but his wife was a part-time cleaner and was laid off because the offices were empty. Not in the same office, but
Yep.
as a direct response to everyone doing a very similar thing, his wife is now redundant because of people of the same mentality as her husband wanting to work from home. So this balance that I see at this moment in time, I get it. It's the local economy is going to be impacted massively. The travel, the commute economy, so the coffee shops, the restaurants, the pubs, the clubs, and everything else around that, the staff, the bar staff, the cleaners, the facility managers, the maintenance engineers.
But there's also the
Huge
greater
impact.
impact on that, though, because just think public sector, right? Trains,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Well, yeah,
So
yeah.
if you're not commuting, where does that money come from
Yeah.
to maintain the tracks, maintain the service? I get it.
Yeah.
Some countries, their system's really good, others is not, but that's beyond the scope of today. But the point I'm making is, so we're back.
We're back. We're
Sorry.
back.
Oh, there you go, right? So no one's maintaining the internet here. Right? But I don't know where you lost me, but it's like,
Maintain them
where does that?
tracks.
Okay, there
Yeah.
you go. So where does the money come to maintain that?
Well, this is it. You look at TfL in London. I know I keep using London as an example because it's quite well known around the world. They went cap in hand to the government for hundreds of millions of pounds to keep paying their staff and to keep maintenance moving and keep the trains moving, because the use of trains dropped. I think it's about 80%. I think it was. That's a massive figure, and people are noticing it. There's not as many trains, not as many buses on the street at the same time. So the impact of not going into the city is huge. Is absolutely huge
And
on
that's
the
before you
local
start
economy.
talking about tourism. I know there's no tourism at the moment. I get that.
Yeah, but that is another kind of part of this. Is when tourism comes back, is that where the vast majority of the money, the local economy, really came from, and how much was it really from the commute into work? How many Starbucks did commuters buy over how many Starbucks the local, the tourists bought? And we don't know that answer at the moment. It's looking like it's 50-50, but when tourism comes back and everyone's working from home and it comes back near normal, then working from home is all right. It's fine. It's not going to be that much of a problem. But we
But
don't know.
it's the gap between now and then. But the other
Yeah.
part of this that I want to touch on, and we touched on it last week, and I've had so many more conversations around that. What does
Yeah.
this mean for us in the recruitment industry? Now, when something goes up, something goes down, something else goes up. I get all of that, right?
Yeah.
And this leads me into the other question I got is, how do I get my recruiters who work from home to speak with all candidates, not just those we have open roles for? So there's two parts to that question here, because if if you're in facilities, for example, right? Well, that's kind of going like that to a degree.
Yeah.
We don't know how long, right? So I'm not saying, oh my God, you guys got to run and diversify, but you need to think about diversifying. And it's like, well, how do you diversify? Where do you diversify? What's the next big thing? And this particular VP that sent me this question, so when I asked her to elaborate, what she's got is her recruiters are still looking at the immediate, right? So, like, can I place this candidate today,
Yeah.
rather than keeping the conversation going with candidates within your sector that you can't necessarily place today,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And the argument she's getting is, well, they're working from home and they're busy doing this bit. But when they're in the office, we'd have
Yeah.
a two-tier approach, right? Passive and active
Yeah.
candidates.
But when I've got a couple of business owner friends and employees as well, friends, who took a massive initiative in the last 12 months, saw the market went downwards, didn't want to pivot because all it takes is the market coming back. So the aviation industry, the events and hospitality industry, these are the industries which are dead at the moment. There's hardly any activity going on in them. So the initiatives they took was offer free advice, be the center point of that industry and talked about it as well. It's hard, but come and speak to me and we'll talk about your career, pull apart their CV, make it look better. And what that did for them, and they now have got jobs in the last 3 months. They're even more busy than they would be in a normal year, which is really interesting. But that put a lot of demonstration of capability, plus even more so, people trusted them even more because they were offering a lot of things for free, a lot of support and guidance, and showing they truly enjoy what they're doing. They didn't need to diversify. In fact, they got to the point where they needed to create more things, to create more opportunities. And one of my friends created a whole entire job board for these guys, and sold it to the companies he would normally work with. And they buy in, and it's going forward in the right way. So creativity came from this scenario as well, from a couple of conversations with candidates and clients. But they're really, really busy now, except for the aviation industry. That's a different one at the moment. But for the events and hospitality industry, yeah, these guys are across the world really,
Well,
really
you're
busy.
actually I do agree. So I was talking diversify. So for clarification, diversify doesn't necessarily mean go and do a completely different sector, right? So you still
Yeah,
can,
I was
because
going
you
to
know me,
clarify that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly.
I'm a
Yeah,
firm believer in niche, right? So you can do other things. But I think the point on that one is it the leaders, the executives, they're the ones that have to, or is it necessarily them? Should it be the everybody have to look at it and say, okay,
I think you need
how,
ownership. I think everyone
yeah.
needs to take ownership of this. If you enjoy your job and you love doing what you're doing, you will do this anyway. You will take ownership of this anyway. And your bosses will look at you stupid if you do it, but they'll see a massive increase in productivity and in everything from you, in energy as well from you to just take that initiative and do it. If you don't, then you are going to be struggling, and you will sadly feel the burn and the wrath from the right people within that business that is not going that way.
But I think it's also a mindset thing, right? So tying back to I can't remember exactly what my words were last week. Um, Actually, no, it was one of the questions I got. So let me bring that one up.
Yeah, sure.
Apparently, you talked about the end of transactional recruiters. How do I get my team to understand a new business case? So these two are actually pretty well connected because,
This is it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
right, the transactional recruiter is chasing the dollar.
correct.
You've heard me say so many times, don't chase a dollar, chase the process. And it's that instant gratification, what's in it for me, right? So it's like, okay, I have a metric to hit.
Yeah,
There you go. I made a call. Tick. Rather than saying, you know what? How do I how do I provide service value to my candidates and clients? Because it is relevant on both sides
yeah,
when they've got nothing to give me, and that's something
yeah,
that, like, for example, each and every one of us, when we've got something to offer and people call us, yet we haven't heard from them for the last 6 months, and now suddenly we're in a position where they want to take something, they're called. How does that make us feel? We feel pretty shitty and used,
yes,
right?
yeah,
In our personal life, right? We're like, hang on a second. Now that I've managed to create this, where were you when I couldn't offer you anything?
that's it. And it all comes back down to that. When I, like I say, with a couple of friends, I watched what they were doing. It was phenomenal. That offering to people and to that level of candidate as well. They became bosses and started their own businesses, and then started observing what this particular recruiter had been doing and used them as advice, used them as a center point for their industry, and worked on podcasts and other things with them as well. And suddenly they started giving them work because they got busy from the back of what they were doing with those recruiters at the same time. So it was quite fascinating to watch this unravel, actually. And they didn't even place one person in that time when they did it. It's extraordinary, absolutely
But
extraordinary.
it's investing in the future business, it's investing in future relationships, and it's
Correct.
forward thinking. And as an industry, we get a really bad rap
That's
for
right.
instant only be interesting in we have to place that person because we're filling a role,
Yeah,
right? We're filling a role, and that's that transactional recruiter. And one of the things and I don't know where I land on this, but it'll be interesting to hear your opinion. I've spoken to quite a few recruiters who, instead of, no, maybe instead of is the wrong word, what they're
Yeah.
doing now is saying, okay, we're going to help people write their CV. And they've started charging money to write the CV. Okay, so they've started charging for interview
Yeah.
prep.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about candidates that they're placing. So it's just like another revenue stream. And I see.
Yeah, this is that thing called hustle, isn't it? Everyone's trying to hustle, so they're trying to have side hustles, and they're trying to create this new revenue stream. But it's a part of what you do day to day. You know, to me, I've given feedback to people lately on their CVs they've submitted to me, and I've pulled their CVs apart and put notes on their CV and told them where to change it. I'm not charged for that. I'm doing that because I think I can help them and move them forward to where they want to go, and people will remember that you've done that.
But it's also
Um,
part of,
it's part of what we are as a
yeah,
recruiter, what
there
we
you
are
go.
as a recruiter. It
That's
is. That's frustrating. Sorry if anyone's doing it right now. I'm sorry that you're doing it. Basically,
But I totally get it when it's part of a larger offering and things like that, right? Um, but there's equally, I guess, an argument to be made is you're giving away. Why would I give away my
free time kind of thing.
yeah.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
and and that comes back to that transactional kind of mindset, because I guess the way I look at it, I will, if I can help you, I'll help you,
yeah. I'm
right?
building. I shouldn't tell you this out loud because it's top secret information. But I'm building a course at the
Just you and I.
moment. Yeah, it's just you know. I'm building a course at the moment for small recruitment businesses to be better at marketing their business. And one of the things I've put in there for social media is you need to be telling people the secrets, what you do and how you do it. You got to be engaging with people and giving away those things. And the reason you do that is that the vast majority of people won't even bother. They won't even do it, and they'll still engage with your services. But you're being open and honest as well, and people want to pay for that. So you'll spend a lot of time trying to explain to people how it works and why you do it. But really, what you're explaining is this is quite a lengthy process, and you really do need an expert to help you to do it, and that's why you do it. But a lot of people don't see it like that. They think giving away secrets is they need to charge for that. They need to do things for that. You don't need to.
And I do agree with you. Like, I've been doing these lives
Mm.
in the Facebook group since COVID started.
Oh well.
And the way I look at it, if you can help one person takes something away from it, perfect. I now really enjoy them, right?
Becomes a part of you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I enjoy my podcast. Yeah,
yeah.
it becomes a part of you. Yeah.
And I actually, yeah, you do enjoy it. And it's, do people take more than they give back? Yes, right? That happens. But equally, you meet that one person, and I'm rec to rec, but it really doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be in
It doesn't.
engineering, oil and gas.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I am a firm believer. You give and give, and I've done that for the last 6 years running my own business. I've given a lot of advice to people, and I've helped a lot of people. And weirdly enough, last 12 months, when I needed help or I needed some advice, people queued up to give it to me because I had helped them in the past. And I didn't do it because I wanted that to happen later on in life, but it was like an investment I gave into society. And then I got it back. I reaped it back in the last 12 months, and people queued up to help. And it's overwhelming at first. And you think, why? Oh, because you helped me 3 years ago with my CV, or you helped me 3 years ago to start my business. I don't remember doing that, but do you know what I mean? It might have been a flippant comment, but that flippant comment or that bit of advice carried with that person, and they saw something successful from it. So it's
And no, you're right, because right now we have a tendency, we're all working from home.
mm,
And you and I were talking about this before we went live about how we attach a meaning to something. And right now, and I don't want to get, the whole mental health part of it,
yeah.
and all the
I'm
rest.
not qualified. I'm not
Yeah,
qualified to talk about mental health. So yeah,
exactly, right? But you know what? When you listen to somebody and you listen to understand rather than listen to answer, you don't know how impactful and powerful that is for the other person. Because sometimes everyone's working from home and sometimes you're having a crappy day and you just
yeah,
want to tell somebody.
yes, and having that open forum
Yeah,
to be able to tell that as well. That's extremely important. And
yeah.
like I said, I'm not an expert in mental health, but what I'm an expert at is speaking to people and finding out their problems and hearing their problems, and try to solve them. I'm just a natural problem solver. I like to hear those problems be solved. And I think as a manager, that's probably what you need to be doing in those circumstances with your
Well, that's
staff.
it. Because if you're working from home and you're having a bad day, it's so easy to
Yeah,
think it's me. What is wrong with me?
that's it.
Right? Why? And you make up all of these stories. Every single one of us do, right? We do. We can deny it to each other, but we can't, you can lie to each other, but not to yourself, right? And sometimes all it takes is literally just picking up the phone. But the other piece I want to say to every, not that we're talking recruitment industry, but it's anybody that works from home.
Across the board, yeah.
Be when somebody is silent, who's not normally that quiet, reach out,
Yeah, yeah. Put in
right?
the diary every week, 3 o'clock Friday. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a beer over Zoom or something like that.
Yeah,
It always works. Always
yeah.
works.
Good always has a butterfly effect. It pays dividends. Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's exactly right.
that's
Totally agree.
exactly right. So, one of the other questions, I'm curious as to how you manage initial onboarding of candidates when they
Yeah.
take on remote working positions. Feedback I'm getting is that candidates feel as if they are floating and aren't as productive in their initial 3 to 6 months. So, when I got that question, I actually went back and because I wanted to make sure, is this somebody asking me a question because they feel their personal onboarding wasn't,
Yeah.
and they don't quite want to put it like that. But no, when I went back and clarified, she was talking about her contractors, and she's in the temp space. Beg your pardon,
Uh,
she's in the IT space.
in the IT
So
space.
it's really interesting though, because the feedback she's getting is the contractors are still feeling the onboarding process isn't
Right.
right,
Right.
and productivity, they're not as productive in their initial 3 6 months working from home.
Mm. It's a difficult one. I've come across companies having a very similar problem before COVID, especially from working from home, type sales guys or whoever, design engineers, whoever it is, in those type of companies. And it's all to do with engagement. It's all to do with proactive engagement and making sure that the staff that you have, and this is just from experience of listening to how companies deal with it. One particular materials handling company is 100% work from home, and they have 3 days at the beginning where they've got to go to the office. So they'll put them up in a hotel if it's like across country or wherever it is, and they'll have this engagement piece where it talks about them and their integration into the company and where they fit in the greater scheme of things, and making them feel like a part of the business. And then after that, then they'll continue doing 1 2 day a week kind of courses over the next couple of months. The first 90 days in any business for any candidate or slash employee slash even employer is the most crucial, and this is why they're feeling left out. This is why they're feeling like they're not a part of something, because they haven't been engaged correctly, or they're not being brought into the fray to see the bigger picture and where they fit within that. And that, I think, is extremely important to anyone that starts in any company, in any work from home or in the office, is to be a part of that, where you've got the purpose. What is your purpose within that company? And people thrive when they know what their purpose is.
But I want to add on to this a question that's coming, or more of a statement. It's not, there's two sides to this coin, because there's everything the company can do, but you as the, in this case we're talking contractors, right? But you as the employee
Yes, 100%.
also have to engage in that process. And if it's not, for lack of a better word, working for you, or meeting, or you're seeing a roadblock, that you have to speak up.
Yes, I agree. Totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
And you've this is the thing. A lot of people when they start companies, they really do worry about rocking the boat too early and saying, I'm sorry, this isn't working, or I'm not getting enough of this, because they feel if they do that, they might be looked upon in an unfavorable way. And I think I always say to people, just approach it diplomatically and say, I don't feel I know enough information in this area. Can we talk about it a bit more? Can we go over it in a training session? Or is there a course I could go on? And just be straight up and honest, because I think the employer wants it to work as well. I think, and instead of it getting to that awkward conversation after the probation period where you might be chucked out of the business because you didn't do X, Y, and Z. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I totally understand what you're saying, because it's really, and you're right. Sometimes employees do feel, oh, I've just started this job. I don't want people to see me as weak or not as good as I thought
Yeah,
I was. Oh my God, I don't want them to think I sold them a bag of goods during the interview process and things like that. But I guess where I'm going with this is, even before accepting that job,
mm,
possibly that conversation should happen. And
I agree.
us as the recruitment industry,
Yes,
bringing it back to us, part of our solutioning value add to our clients has to be talking about this onboarding process, not just accepting that they have an onboarding process.
that's right. I've got a blog on this, and I talk about expectations a lot in the blog. And when you set the offer, you both have to talk about expectations. What are they in the first 12 in the first 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and what are the KPIs to meet that? And how do I, even things like how do I get to the next level in the salary, or how do I get performance related bonus or something? Everything needs to be talked about in the offer. It's not just the salary and when do I start. It's everything, and setting that expectation at early doors will give people that purpose. They'll understand where they sit in the greater scheme of things within that business as well. So when they are working from home, they're not lost. They know
Yeah,
what they're
but I
doing.
think also, just connecting the dots backwards here, us as the recruitment industry,
Yes, we
it
need to lead
is,
that. We do need to lead that.
we do 100%, because when we're, and again, this is a transactional versus solutions, right?
Correct.
Type of recruiter, there's a big gap still in the market for everyone that's watching this from the recruitment industry, that, you know what, you can fill that gap, or you can just be one of the casualties of it, because right now companies are companies are looking for solutions themselves. None of us saw this coming. You could argue, well, we've been in a pandemic a year. Well, we came out of lockdown a couple of weeks ago and went straight back into lockdown,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So it's and something I've been saying to my friends is, look, if you're sending me to prison, just tell me how long my sentence is and let me serve that, because then there's some sense of normality.
that's
There's, okay, this is going to happen for this, then we're going to do that, and then we're going to do that. But
yes,
that's not the case. So
yeah,
even companies with the best will in the world, you've got HR teams, executives sitting there, hitting their head against a brick wall, because they're finding a solution for this, and then suddenly something beyond everybody's control is happening,
yeah.
and it changes again. So be that voice at that table with your clients.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. There is no universal solution to all these problems, though. As well, we could go back into lockdown in the UK. We're not being told we're going to. We're apparently going in the right direction, but companies are cautious now. They are really worried about what the future holds for their business, and waiting for that stability. But they still haven't come up with a perfect solution for the scenario. But there is a lot of companies experimenting, which I like seeing, to be honest with you, and having a go, trying to change things up and do things differently. So we can help there. We can
Well,
come to that table
exactly.
and say,
Think of that
this is
company.
what, yeah,
Exactly. Think of that company. Just envision this. You've got the boardroom table.
yeah,
Everybody is sitting there.
yeah,
I don't care. With my clients, I have a seat at that table. I insist on the seat at that
yeah,
table, right? Because I have a voice. I can bring a completely different perspective. I can tell them what some of their competitors are doing. I can what the market is saying, what they're all the rest of it, right? Oh, well, this is working over there, and you take bits and pieces, and you may not have the solution. I don't claim to have the solution each time, but you know what? Part of that conversation,
That's right.
and
That's right.
that's where you get putting my sales hat back on. That's when you get the high fee paying clients.
It's and you get. I think it's the kudos as well in the industry, and you get now nominated and recommended to other companies across the world. Maybe I don't know, but definitely across your sector. Is that and that's the sweet spot. I think become that almost non-executive director within that business, and that is the sweet spot that you should be aiming at in these pandemic times. Yes, you won't get paid for them all, but I tell you what, it's powerful later on. It really
It,
is.
it is, and not only that, we're talking in a context of clients, but same is true with your candidates,
Yeah,
right?
one hundred
Same is
percent.
true with your candidates, because what you're doing is you're showing them that you're in it with them.
Yeah,
Good, bad. I know that sounds very cliche, but it's true. The
yeah,
pandemic doesn't matter what line of business, in fact, doesn't even matter business. It's really highlighted who is there for you,
that's it.
right? And companies look at that as well. You look at your suppliers, right? You look
Yeah,
at like my garden, the company that
yeah.
does my lawn.
There was a local gym to me, and I was watching this guy pull up in a car, come out with a sandbag, and put it on the doorstep of this house opposite me. And I was looking at him, going, "What the hell is that for?" And then later on, when I was washing the car and the neighbour was there, I said, "What was the sandbag all about?" And he goes, "Oh, that's from the gym. They've given me a sandbag and a workout schedule to do whilst the gyms are closed. And now I have to carry this sandbag half a mile and I have to lift it above my head." And I was like, "Wow, what the hell is that? That's amazing." They've gone out their way to create something for their clients because they care. They really do care, but they get nothing from it because they cut the fee into like nothing in some, free 3 months, but they still gave away sandbags and helped their clients. They're going to come back. They're going to come back in absolute numbers after that because of the support they gave.
And they're going to your point, they're going to recommend.
Yeah, if I
Right?
was a gym going person, I'd be going to that gym, but I'm not.
There you go. They're going to recommend. Come on, you work out all the time. We can see that, right?
Yeah, I've got
But
two
it's true.
kids. That's my work.
There you go,
No,
right?
no.
But you're right, because I think if anybody takes anything away from this last question, and the way we've bounced around, is
Yeah,
stop chasing the dollar. Don't focus on the dollar, focus on the process, focus on adding value. I promise you, the dollar's going to come.
yeah. Create a sphere of influence. I think we said this in the last
Yeah,
one. Create a sphere of influence, and I think that pretty much encompasses where we need to be. And sadly, in the countries, or even still in my country, we're in lockdown. Business is a bit crap. There's I know people saying, "Oh, but there's still money to be made out there." You can still do this, even though there's money to be made at the same time. You can still be that influence within your market at the same time.
100% you can, right? And it comes back down to, you've got to stop just looking what's in it for me.
Mm.
Just open up a little bit, um, because the other piece I meant to tell you before we jumped on this live, so you could have given it some thought. One of the things we heard yesterday,
Mm.
there's a massive staffing agency, and what they have done, a large staffing agency, their outreach goes something like this, and I really wanted your opinion on it and whether you've heard it in other sectors. I haven't had time to do some digging and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but literally their outreach is, hey, John Smith, see your recruiter. I'm looking for a recruiter. Whatever your income is, I'm going to increase it by at least 30% if you join us.
Okay.
5 people have left one particular company and gone to this particular company. That was how they hooked these people in.
Wow.
I have some thoughts around that. My first question to you was going to be, and I wish I'd given you time to prepare this, and I completely forgot to
So
tell you.
you're gonna get a reaction to this question you might not want to hear, but go on.
But no. Okay, so I'm glad I didn't give you time to prepare for it. Are you seeing that in any sectors anywhere else? I've only heard about one company doing that yet. We only heard this last night and we
Yeah,
verified it. Yes, the
we
5 people did leave. Their outreach was don't care what your base salary or don't care what your salary is. You've just got a 30% pay rise by coming and working with us.
my first of all, no, I haven't heard that in any other sector yet. I had heard it a long time ago, just after the last recession. I
Okay.
say last recession. This is a different type of recession, but I heard it then, where companies were offering stupid amounts of money, probably more than 30%, almost double salaries. But the question that always comes to my mind is, and we come back to expectation, what have I got to do within your company for this increase in 30%? Is it exactly the same as what I'm doing now? And then let's have a conversation. But if it's 30% more work and I'm doing okay now and I'm happy where I am, then the answer for me is no, sorry, I'm happy where I'm at. So we've got to balance that, haven't we? Do people want to make more money? Yes, but why are you offering more? See what
And I
I'm
think it's, yeah, no, I totally agree with you because I've kind of similar thoughts to yourself.
Yeah,
Um, because if money is, and we're talking recruitment, but it applies to, I don't care what sector anybody's in, right? It really does apply. I don't care whether you're an accountant and what have you.
yeah,
If all the company has to offer you as a value proposition right out of the gate is I'm giving you a 30% pay rise, personally speaking, that creates alarm bells.
I it does. My natural, it's just because the way I've been wired over the last 16 years to be, because my early career, I took the pay rise jobs. You know, the ones where you're on 20 grand, they're giving you 22 grand. I'll take that because I'll get a pay rise. And then you go there and it's horrible. It's different. And you know why they offered more money, because the manager was bad, or if all they've got to offer is more money, then what are they covering up? That's filler on the cracks, in my humble opinion. What is creating those cracks in the wall of that business? And it's extraordinary when you see it.
Yeah, but what I'm also going to add on to what you've just said is if you are as a company, if you're thinking that throw money at the problem, right? You need to take a long, hard look internally and say, okay, what am
Yeah,
I hiding? Right. And because that's going to have all the implications, turnover, all the rest of it, right? Which
yeah,
is beyond the scope of today. But I think also from a recruiter's perspective, salesperson, if you've got a company that's coming to you and saying 30% pay rise, don't care, right? We give them a 30% pay rise. Just bring me people. Don't worry, I'm going to beat the salary by 30%. I think you as the recruiting partner here, you've got to just take a pause a moment,
yeah,
right? Take a pause at the moment because not every client is a good client because right now you may get a much, a bigger fee and things like that. But the trouble that's potentially going to cause you down the road, your brand, the time, energy, and all the rest of it, checks and balances,
yeah. 100%,
right?
100%.
So don't accept every piece of business that comes your way as well.
This is actually really true, actually, because since August last year, I've picked up various bits of work that because it's quiet and you need to take a bit of work on, has turned out to be a bag of rubbish at the end of it. Purely because it's the type of roles where, in a normal scenario, in a normal situation, you would probably pass to one side or have a consultation with them and say, right, maybe it's cheaper for you to do this rather than use me. But you take them on because you need a bit of work. And I've fallen into that trap a few times. And they're crap companies. And they're really bad to work with. And you kind of look at it going, I wouldn't have normally worked with these people. I would have just told them no.
Yeah.
And it's desperation in that scenario. And maybe this particular company offering 30% salary increases is very desperate. I like to know how they pay for it at the same time.
You know
But
what? I'll figure once we've done some more digging and we can
yeah,
get an idea of what the expectations are and the how it plays out in a couple of months and
yeah,
things like that. I'll be sure to share that because
yeah,
I'm intrigued to see. Because here's the thing: they've just increased the cost per person by 30% in this market.
yeah,
Right? Is the
yeah.
expectation they're bringing business? But I think absolutely, as the recruiter, if a company is saying to you, "Great, just more money, more money."
You know, the other thing as well, I was just thinking, because from a personal intrinsic kind of proposition, I want people to offer me more money for a job because they're offering me more money for a job, not the sector. Do you know what I mean? Like a blanket, right? We're going to give everyone 30%. I want people to look at my abilities and achievements and say, yeah, Mark's definitely got 30% extra worth of value to bring him on board, and
Yep.
we can see that value. And that's, and that kind of plays into the part where you, if you are being offered more money, is it because of your skills and abilities you bring into the table, or is it because they just need bums on seats? And if that's what they need, I don't think you're going to be in that company long.
No.
Personally, that's just my personal opinion.
No, I agree with you, and it's beyond the scope of today, but that's before you start talking about it and saying, okay, well, if they've increased their salary costs, and it's true of any company, any sector, if
Yeah,
they've just blanket 30%, right? What are they not giving?
and I bet you it's things like work from home
Yeah,
to bring it
probably,
full
right?
circle. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and what are they not giving? So sometimes just more money.
yeah,
And especially in the current climate, right? Sometimes just leaving a company for more money
yeah.
is not the right move,
100%. I
right?
100% agree with you.
Especially if you're still trying to figure out your working from home routine and stuff like that. To add that much extra pressure
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so do your due diligence, right? But one thing I do want to finish off on, because I see we're coming up to time though. We've been talking about work from home.
mm,
And what can companies do and things like that. I just wanted to just share. So one of my clients is Hayes, and Hayes Canada are doing something, and I just want to make sure I get the terminology right. It's put your feet up day, Friday this week,
yeah.
right? So what they have done is every single person is taking the day off,
Okay.
paid day off. So it's not, and that includes the president. So the president said to me last night, no, my phone is going to be off, not going to emails, everything is off. Now, before people start freaking out, no, there's a skeleton crew for clients and things like that.
Yeah,
But I really liked that initiative because it's literally just say, have a break, guys.
yeah,
And if you're here in Canada or countries like Canada, we've just done this whole lockdown in the cold, snow, dark
yeah.
early, all the rest of
And
it.
it's horrible in Canada. No offense, I'm not saying that Canada's horrible, by the way, but it is a very depressing weather in the winter, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
snow and more snow in Canada.
it is.
So
And it's beautiful
yeah,
when the sun is shining, but you can't go
oh
and sit
yeah,
on your
yeah.
deck.
But when the summer comes, it's in a hell of a lovely country
Well,
that you
that's it. Well, we're
you can
in
go visit.
lockdown, right?
Yeah,
So, and it's funny because I was saying to my team this morning, if that was me and I was doing a put your feet up day and
yeah,
my employer done that, you know what? This Friday you will find me sitting on my deck
yeah,
reading a book because I can't go anywhere, reading a book, um, enjoying the weather, just decompressing and
yeah.
tons of wine and just really spending time
This is it.
on me.
I think we need more of this, by the way. There needs
Yeah.
to be not just this lockdown, but this needs to continue for the rest of the world.
Yeah. Because when I said to, when the president was telling me this, I was like, so what about you? Because I was just like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's for everybody else. What's he going to do? Right. And he was like, no, it is a Hayes initiative. Now, I don't know if it's just Canada or Hayes globally,
I'm not
but
so sure. Yeah,
yeah, it goes all the way to the top. So I just wanted to share that, because I would work for a company that's offering me, saying that to me in the outreach. Look, we have, we have put your feet up days. Then somebody
Yeah,
that's saying, hey, don't know you, Suki, but I'm going to give you a 30% pay raise. Right. So,
brilliant.
I think that's a great initiative. Um,
But those are the initiatives that draw people in. So there's going to be, for you as the recruiter for Hayes, you're going to now speak to potential candidates and say they've got this initiative where you can have a day off, just randomly go and do wherever you want, go jogging or go for a hike or something like that. That's going to trigger the intrinsic motivations of a lot of recruiters. Whereas, and they'd be paying the same amount as where they are, or maybe a little bit more. It doesn't matter the salary. It's about those little things a company can give their people, whether it's working in an office or working from home. Just as little tiny things, and it really does go a long, long way for people.
it
Really, really
does.
does.
And especially right now, if I just take Toronto, lockdown, kids are at home, all the rest of it, right?
Really,
So,
yeah,
heat the pool, spend the day by the pool. You've got a long weekend, effectively, because that's what it is, right? And just the phone's off.
yeah,
Phone is off, emails are off, everybody knows, and you really are able to decompress,
yeah, yeah,
right? So they're the initiatives that I love listening to companies putting out, right? Because that's
yeah.
really something like that is really thought through.
These initiatives, though, as well, and this is coming from a person that's worked for the public sector as well. They are things that public sector do. They are things that the Ministry of Defence in the UK do with their staff. They don't work a 5-day week; they work a 4.5-day week. There is other things like Wednesdays they can go and do PE for the day, so they can go to the gym or they can go play rugby or stuff like that. And I think private companies are starting to catch on. They're highly motivated public sector staff, and why? Because they get given a lot. They get given an opportunity to grow themselves as well, and through courses. And I think companies like Hayes, I think, can afford to be more like a private company, but they'll see a huge increase in productivity from their staff by doing this. So it's in my humble opinion, it's the future. I've always been a believer in this.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it every week.
No,
You know,
once a month, if not.
we're just talk, something I'd love to see companies do is, what used to be the president's, won the president's club, go on an all expenses paid trip and things like that. I'd love to see companies. Here you go, every company, doesn't matter whether they're in recruitment, do this.
Yeah,
In my humble opinion, give your employees vouchers, Uber Eats or something, right? Because nobody can go out to dinner,
yeah,
right? And let them just treat themselves, right? And don't do like a $50, because $50 gets you nothing, right? I'm talking a couple of hundred, and let them just have a Friday night a date night, right? Just
yeah.
whatever that may, if they decide that they're going to spend that money on McDonald's, and then that's up to them.
Yeah, there was an engineering company here in the UK, a very small company. It was a massive company, and because they couldn't have a Christmas dinner this year, they gave everyone a Christmas hamper, probably worth a couple of £100, with the stuff inside it. And the staff absolutely loved it. Absolutely thought it was a phenomenal idea.
Yeah.
But they probably saved thousands from not having money behind the bar
Yeah.
by doing that. But it goes a long way. These little things,
These
honestly,
little things are big things.
yeah,
Um, I always say, for the most part, I sweat the small stuff, not the big stuff, because it's the small stuff that really matters, because that really shows appreciation. Things like a thank you,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
hey,
Things like a
it's
thank you. And
yeah,
sometimes just letting somebody know that you see them,
yeah,
you see them, you hear them, you appreciate them.
and also, when I was a manager many years ago, I used to have this brilliant HR manager who used to say to me, "Don't do reviews, do appraisals, and do a proper appraisal, so appraise, and then create next steps to improve as well on top of it." And it
Yeah.
does help people. It's
Yeah,
just
because
it's
telling me once a year that I'm fantastic and I can go to Hawaii on a president's club is telling everybody else, yeah, you're not so great,
yeah,
right?
it's true.
It's true. We don't think of it like that, but that's what you're
Exactly.
saying. You're not so great.
Yeah.
Um,
I used to
the
find, by the way, I used to find that demotivating. Whenever, well, for me personally, you because you're the top biller, you can go on holiday with your boss. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to go on holiday with my boss? I never
Yeah,
liked that. I thought it was about give me vouchers. I'm happy with that. Give me as
yeah,
much vouchers as you want to give me.
yeah. Let
I'll take
me
that.
decide where I want to
Yeah,
go with my other half, or whether I just want to use those vouchers and
yeah,
paint the room or whatever,
yeah,
right? So,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and it's that small stuff, right? So I guess I'm going to end on each and every person watching this. Let people know that you see them, that you hear them, and
yes,
again, if you're the employee, let your line manager know that you appreciate them. You realize that they're doing the best that they can do given the circumstances, right?
100%.
Um, and that goes a long way, right? On that note, Mark, thank you ever so much. I really
That's all
truly
right.
appreciate it. Jumping back in, um, it really means a lot, and
No,
I'm
thank you.
sure you'll get a lot more questions afterwards, like we did
I
last
hope so.
week.
I hope
Yep.
so. Yeah.
And if anyone wants to reach out to either of us, happy to chat. So before we go, what's coming up? So April 28th is the diversity panel that we're going to be broadcasting. I've got some powerhouses on that, and we're going to be talking all things diversity, um, inclusion, equity. We're right across the board, and it's not just lipstick we're putting. We're talking about the not so pleasant stuff, right? So we're putting it out there. So if anybody has any questions, make sure you send me them in advance, and I will make sure the panel is aware. I guess I should tell you who the panel is as well. So we have Caroline Levy from Randstad. Randstad Technologies here in Canada. We have Chris Rowland, ex Manpower Group out of the US. We have Roy Clark, founder of Clark House Advisory Group, and my good friend Angelina, who's heading the internal diversity conversation for Brunel Energy. So make sure you tune in on that. I will start advertising it April 28th, 10 a.m., back in whichever platform you're watching from. Anyhow, on that note, thanks ever so much. And Mark, I will speak to you soon.
Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Take